Hello, this is Cristi. Welcome to another Camtasia tutorial. In this lesson, I will make use of a new feature or effect that was introduced in Camtasia 2023. You probably know about it by now. It launched earlier this year, but I didn't cover Camtasia 2023 because for me, it crashed a lot and it was very unstable on Windows. On the Mac, it seems to be a bit better, so I started to use it more, and now I would like to cover this visual effect called motion path. So this should be available on Windows as well. And motion path is quite a simple effect, really. It allows you to move an object along a path that you define in advance. So here we go. This is the effect right here in the visual effects group. And I will show you another use of this effect that goes beyond just moving one object. I'm going to show you how to make text move along a path. Now, of course, we know we can apply this motion path to a annotation with one piece of text inside of it, and that's fine. And this is how the basics of this effect works. If I go to annotations, I will find a little piece of text here, for example. And by the way, you can move other stuff, not just text. You can move images, videos, whatever object you like along a path. And I've got this object here, ABC. I'm not going to even change anything. Go to visual effects and apply this motion path to it. Honestly, this motion path is what animations should be. And if I were TechSmith, I would have implemented this particular functionality in the classic animations that have been in Camtasia for years. And, so far you can only move an object in a straight line using the animations. So doing this kind of motion movement, I do hope this gets implemented in future versions of Camtasia to work the same way for classic animations. But that being said, I'm going to show you how this works. So when you apply this effect to an object, you see this default path that's being defined here, and it shows you that this object is going to move along this path. And if you look in the timeline, you can see my object, and it has this new kind of keyframe kind of thing assigned to the clip, which is the start and the end keyframe for this motion path. You can move this along the clip to start earlier or sooner or later, and you can also pull these keyframes apart like this to make the animation last longer or shorter. And when your playhead hits this kind of animation keyframe, the object starts to move along that path like this. You see, it just moves there. And you have the freedom to move the path. You pull these 2 points, the start and the end keyframe. They correspond to these 2 keyframes down here on the clip. This is how it works. You can, of course, adjust. If you move like halfway through or wherever, and you move the object in another position, by grabbing that little node, you introduce a new keyframe in this whole path. So now the object will go through that point before it reaches the end of the animation. Very simple, very easy. And as you can see, this feature that I would love if it got ported over to the classic animations is that you have Bezier curve kind of node thingies you can edit. So these are curves. You can make the movement much sort of smooth, and you can change the angle of movement like this. You can make the sharp end, like for bringing these things close to each other, it's going to be a sharp corner there for my object. Look, it's going to move very suddenly there. And another option is to tick this box to auto orient. And now the object is going to change the angle. You see, now the object rotates to match the direction of the path. Very simple. That's all it is with the motion path. But I want to show you a nice practical application for this, one that I wanted to do for a long time. And using classic animations, it was quite difficult and very involved because you had to do a lot of keyframes to mimic this curvy motion. So let me show you what I mean. I'm going to delete this now altogether, the whole thing. And I'm going to add a new one. So let's go back to annotations, and I'm going to just add another annotation here, just nothing. And I'm going to put the letter G in there. I'm going to make the word graphicious move along a curve with this object. But I don't want the object to move the whole word like this, because look, if I type the whole word like that, it's got the whole word. This kind of motion path doesn't actually account for every letter. It doesn't animate every letter. It doesn't orient every letter from the word. So if I turn on the auto orient in the sidebar here, and I move now the object, look, the whole word gets turned like this. That's not what I want. I want each letter to turn on its own, so my text actually moves along the string like it's a, like some clothes on a string or something. I don't know what you call it. So this is what I want to achieve. Obviously, this looks very unnatural, right? So how are we doing that? Well, I'm going to delete this now and remove this object effect from here. And actually, I need to do it letter by letter. I know it's a little more involved, but you will see that you can actually reuse this. So the first letter is G. I'm going to define now the size of the font. Go to the font properties, and let's make this quite a big G like this. I want to turn this into a component that I can change the letters and put another word in there easily using the quick properties, as you'll see by the end of this. So I am now ready to start animating these letters, and I need to decide how long do I want this thing. I'm going to add the motion path to my clip just like before, and let me check the direction of movement. The object is coming from the right and goes to the left. That's obviously not what I want, so I want to have the letters come from the right and move to the left. And the quick way to do this is to just turn this around, turn this path around like this, and just turn it. I don't know exactly why I can't actually turn it around. There should be an option here to reverse this animation, but in any case, here we go. You turn these points around, and now the object should start when I play from the right side and to the left. So I want my word to come in from the edge of the screen on the right and go out on the left. And because I said go out, I actually need to make this word completely leave the screen, right? So I need to move this point, the finish point, outside of the screen like this. And likewise, for the beginning, I want my word to come out from outside the screen, to come into the screen. So I need to move this beginning point here. So here we go. That's my motion there. The object is moving along a path like this, coming in and going out. Now, you notice the motion kind of speeds up and slows down at the ends. That's the easing. And by the way, you can change the easing here using these things, ease both, which means it's going to start slowly. So if I make the animation longer, you'll notice what I mean. So at the beginning, it's going to start slowly, as you can see, and speed up and then slow down towards the end. I kind of like that. That's a nice easing in and out, corresponds to easing in and out in the animations. The naming is different. This is called ease both, right? So every node has a property. What do you need to do? How do you want the animation to ease on that node? Coming in, going out, okay? So here we go. That's my motion here. It speeds up and slows down. Now this movement is kind of boring, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go I want my text to come into the screen from the top and then bounce down like it goes into a valley and then go back up the hill like a little roller coaster kind of thing, right? So I need to go sort of halfway in the middle. And again, you need to decide what is the duration of your whole animation, because then you have to move too many nodes around if you need to change them. So if I'm playing this is kind of, okay, that's long enough. That's like 4 seconds. That's fine by me. So I go in here halfway and put your playhead halfway in the middle of this motion. And now you grab this middle node and move it down here. So this is going to be like the bottom of my, roller coaster ride kind of thing. This letter now is going to come down here and it's going to then start going back up. And I want to make the end node go all the way up and come out the screen there. And you can tweak this and make it better. You can move this node and choose this little handle for the curve to make the, really like a roller coaster ride where it just starts going down, and you can click on this and make the valley wider like this, you see, and then this one here, you can pull it up so it goes kind of out in the corner there. Here we go. Just move that down a bit. So this is my motion now. So if I play now, it comes in quickly and swings down. Okay, I don't like the motion in here. Ease none. I'm going to be ease both. Let's see what this does. No, that's not good. I need to ease none. Probably that's what I want there in that node. So I needed to sweep in and go straight back up. If it's kind of changing speed in here, it's probably because these two handles are not symmetrical. So what you may want to do is grab this one and make this line shorter, because the duration down here on the timeline is equal to the duration between the nodes on the screen. So you see I have a longer distance to travel here before the, like from before. So you can move this sideways like this, and you can control the timing of when that object leaves that node, right? So now let's see. Okay, so the motion out of this node is ease in. I'm going to the ease out. Let's see what that does. The first node. Here we go. Swing down and then go back up. I kind of like this, okay? Of course, you can make the motion much more complex. If you want to go in the middle here and say, hey, you know what? At this point, I want it to go up, and then further down, I needed to go that way. So now I've introduced another motion node going up and then out. It's up to you how you make this motion. And again, you can control the inflection point there to make it smoother, or kind of go over the overhead, or whatever you want to do, right? So just like a roller coaster ride kind of thing. Now, okay, let's say that I am quite happy with this. Let me play it again. Here we go. And it goes there. It's not as smooth as I would like, but I think we can do away with this. And of course, you can delete these motion path points if you don't want them anymore. You just delete them and you readjust your inflection points and angles there to make the movement any way you like it. So like this, let's see. Okay, I think I'm going to keep 3 points because I don't want to make things too complicated. Okay, that's my motion. Now what you notice is this letter just stands up straight. It's vertical for the whole duration. All you need to do is turn on this auto orient. So now the letter, you see, turns and changes angle with the line, you see. So that's exactly what I want to happen. Every letter needs to change direction as the line is. And I'm insisting that you get this path right the first time, because we will now create all the other letters and we will use the same motion path for all of them. And if you have like 10 letters or something, you will find it very hard to go and adjust the path later. Okay, so with that being said, this is the path that I'm happy with. So now I'm going to create the other letters. Let me save this project so I don't have a crash or anything. Okay, just making sure I'm not going to have Camtasia crash on me. So now let's replicate this. Alt minus to make the tracks a little shorter. And watch this. I take every track and replicate this. Okay, copy on the timeline, copy this whole clip with the motion path on it. Place my playhead anywhere, I don't care where, and paste. So you see I have 2 of them now. So watch this. If I play the animation, you will see 2 G's following each other quite closely. Now, the one thing that I want to do is I want to adjust the distance between these clips to make sure that the letters follow close behind each other. So if I move this, look, the distance changes because I'm bringing the offset, the start of every clip further or closer apart, closer to each other, right? So right now, look, I only have a bunch of frames in here at the beginning. If I go to the beginning, it's like, I don't know, 5 frames or 6 frames between them, and you can see the second one shows up, and then they start moving at some point when the animation starts. And you know what? I can click on the effect, edit motion path, and it's going to show me where it starts. And I would like to move the beginning of this clip to just before the motion starts, so I kind of know where the beginning is. And I'm going to do the same thing here, okay, before I continue doing stuff, right? So now I know exactly the beginning of the clip is pretty much the beginning of the motion animation. Okay, and finish editing here on the right. And now look, my objects are starting close together, and I think now they're too close because they're kind of overlapping each other. So all I need to do to add some distance is to grab the object and move it back a couple of frames like this to just make sure that they don't touch. So if I play now throughout, I need to check that they, of course, they speed up in the middle, right? So we know that easing motion, so they speed up and they gain some distance, and then they get close together again and then come out. right? That's very nice and easy. Okay, so now in the middle, they will have a lot of distance between them. So maybe what I want to do is I want to adjust the distance or the offset between the objects in the fastest point where they are fastest, because that's when they are further apart. So I want in that point for them to be closer like this, which means at some point they might actually touch, overlap. The letters will overlap, but that's fine because they come out from outside and then they start together and go at the same position here. And I believe the reason they start going the same speed after this point is because of the easing. So in this point, the easing is none. And let's try out, easing out like this. No, that's not good. So ease both maybe. So they stop and start. I don't like that. What about easing in? Yeah, that's not good. So none seems to be the only option here. And then the last point, maybe changing to ease in so that they slow down, and the first node is going to be ease out. Okay, so departing from that node, slower and speeding up. And then for the other node at the end, they'll go fast and slow down. That's the easing bit. Okay, so just making sure that I change it on this one as well. So this ending point here is going to be easing in, and the first node is going to be ease out. That's correct. And in the middle, there's none. So there's not going to be any easing happening in the middle point. Let's play this now again. So you see they gain a bit of distance between them, and they go very fast past the bottom, which sounds normal, and then they slow down towards the end right there. Here we go, and they end up in the same place. Great. I like this motion. I have adjusted the distance now. All I need to do is replicate these clips for every letter that I need. So I'm going to do the word graphicious. Okay, so if I start in here and I have about, I don't know, 5 frames or whatever, I'm going to just copy one of them, doesn't matter because they're now identical, and move a couple of frames, paste, a couple of frames, paste, and keep going. You don't have to make it perfectly, but if you want to do, you can use the period and the comma keys to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, move in 1 frame increments if that's what you want to get it perfectly accurate with the distance. Let me make some more room in here, and Alt minus or Option minus will make the tracks shorter. So now I have GRAPHIC and a few more. IOUS. I didn't do it quite accurately, so you notice that some of them have a higher distance between the overlapping letters. That's fine. You can adjust that and correct it as you go. So now look, how many G's? That is great. I like the motion. So all I need to do now is go in and change every one of them to the correct letter. And the best way to do it is kind of in the middle here so that you know which one is which. So double click on the word. I think you can click on the clip itself and then double click. It might be necessary for you to have them all hidden and do them one letter at a time if you want to finish editing the path here. Okay, so let's see. If I go in here and I double click on the letter, I put R, and then the next is A, P, and so on. It can be a bit tedious to type, so you can move the animation along just to make all the letters available to you. Okay, if you can't double click, you need to move them apart a little more. And here we go. We did it. Okay, look at this. Look at this roller coaster kind of getting speed in here and slowing down again at the top. Perfect. Now let's play this. So this is my motion here. And again, don't forget, you can adjust the offsets and everything. Cool. That's great. Okay, so now the only thing that I need to make sure is I have the endings at the same time. So if you look at the latest one, the furthest one, you can see that if you edit the motion path, just make sure that you don't cut that off. So I may need to expand all of them just a little more. Just expand everything to make them longer, like this. And then now go to the last one and make sure that you are not cutting the end of it, because I want to select all of them and use this here, the slice or the split tool, to cut the ends off. Okay, so that means all of my clips end up in the same point. Okay, so now if I'm playing, they're all going out of the screen. Everything is good. So let's play that again. Here we go. Great. One more thing I want to do. Do you know that, to simulate motion, let's add a motion blur to these letters, right? As they go past, because the motion blur thankfully works with this effect. So if I add motion blur, look at this here in the visual effects, motion blur to all the clips. Make sure you select all the clips. And then here you control the intensity while they're all selected to make the motion blur longer or shorter, right? So now look at this, such a nice motion blur as they get past in the bottom node there. They all kind of look like they're moving very fast, right? So that makes a lot of difference in the making this animation a little more natural looking. Here we go. Yeah, that was nice. Okay. All right. So again, you can make your own path and make it look like going round in circles or whatever you want to do. This is going to be all smooth. Just make sure you adjust those nodes. So now I want to make this reusable, because I want to use it for other words as well. So the way to do that is, you can use something that was introduced a couple of versions ago, the quick properties. All you need to do is just select all of the objects on the timeline, everything, make sure everything is selected, and Control G or Command G on the Mac. And watch this, I put it all in a group now. It's clipping it to the canvas, and here's my object. And, look at this. All of the letters are now available for me to change. And thankfully, on the sidebar here with the quick properties, thankfully they are in order. So if I want to do another word, okay, let me try and do my name. Cristian. I'm going to put my long name. And then, of course, I've got some extra letters here that you need to delete. Make sure they're blank. So here we go. Now, this is my name. Yeah. So I'm afraid they're all moving in the same motion path. Okay, so if you want to make this object reusable and also have a different path every time, I'm afraid you need to rebuild that path every time. And I think it should be possible. Let me try this. It should be possible that if I add a new object in here and I add a visual effect, motion path to it, and I make a change to this motion path, so it's like this. Yes, it seems that TechSmith has not implemented a way to create a preset, because that would have been nice, right? You create a preset with a path that you define, it saves that path, and then you apply the same path to a bunch of objects at the same time, all at once, all done, so you don't have to design that path every time. But it's not possible here. So if I create this path here, the only choice I have to replicate this is to copy the whole clip, I suppose. And I don't think there's a way to copy the exact path, motion path either. There's no way to copy that. So maybe, they will watch this video and implement it in the next versions. Anyway, let's delete that. So that's my object now. It's got all my letters going, nice carousel kind of thing. Of course, every letter has its own property. So in the quick properties, you can change the colors, So if I want to make the colors like a little rainbow, I don't know. Here we go. You change the color of every letter and you make it all so nice and interesting. Yeah. So like this, if you change your colors, you can then save this to your library and you've got a nice rainbow kind of carousel going on there for some cool effects. So anyway, this is the effect, motion path, some practical application for it, just keep it all boring and just move one object or move a bunch of letters and make them sound like they're going on a carousel. Very fun. So you could use this in some scenarios. So that's a nice application for this effect. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy my videos, feel free to subscribe, like this video, share it with others, and don't forget to sign up to the Camtasia community on Facebook. There's a link in the description there. And if you want to ask any questions, feel free to ask in there. We're all in there, so happy to help you. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you on the next one.